a good story is more powerful than any history, any science.
Right.
Story drives the world. That's what I believe.
Hey everyone, Bookish is back with season 5. Today we have with us Anand Neelakantan, who is a screenwriter, author of 5 books. He's also a television producer, a television personality, a columnist, and a motivational speaker. Anand, we are so delighted to have you on the show.
I am delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. I want to start by asking you this question because we're sitting in this beautiful property, Tajlands in Mumbai. Do you come here often? You've been in Bombay for 5 years now.
Taj Lands End, I have been here maybe 7 or 8 times. Many of the shows have been conceived here. The channel heads are sometimes call the meetings here. So there is a lounge in the top. So there we used to sit and discuss stories. So there are a lot of memories as far as this hotel is concerned.
I have read that you were a storyteller at a very young age. So, you would, in your school days, go to temples near Kochi and really listen to the storytelling, the mythology stories that were being narrated there, and you would also tell those stories in a classroom when the teacher would say, we have a free hour and Anand, why don't you, rise and start telling us a story, and you would do that. So were you always interested in mythology?
I was, right from childhood. One of the first certificates which I have is what I got in 1978. I might have been 5 years old at that time. 4.5 years. I got a prize for Gita competition by Chinmayananda Swamiji. Had done it as Cuisine Gita, and the age group was from 5 to 15, and I had won the prize. So right from that time I was interested. I was more interested in storytelling, but I had a rebellious mind, so I used to always think story from various angles, and I have people used to get irritated also. Sometimes when I was very young, they used to find it funny, but as I grew up, when I started asking these questions, I used to think a bit unconventionally. I found Ravana very fascinating, Duryodhana very fascinating. Not that I didn't find the other side. As a whole, I didn't want to see it in black and white.
You were a rebellious child, you said.
I was.
And were you very naughty?
I was.
In school also?
Yes.
And yet the teachers loved you because you were such a good storyteller.
I don't know. I hope they love me. If some of my teachers are watching, they don't tell that.
Okay. But they would tell you, right, to say a story.
That was essentially to keep me quiet. I wanted to be a storyteller. Writing came later. Okay. Writing is one method of storytelling. There are various methods of storytelling. So I used to play in dramas in school. I used to write dramas. I used to tell stories orally. I used to draw cartoons. I was a cartoonist for some time. I used to think a bit unconventionally. I found Ravana very fascinating, Duryodhana very fascinating. Not that I didn't find the other side. As a whole, I didn't want to see it in black and white. And if you really see the traditional telling, the traditional telling, in the sense that how they tell stories in villages, there you see the performing arts, like Kathakali, Ottantullal, Yakshagana. It has a subaltern perspective always. It is never the hero versus villain. It has, Shurpanaga has a great voice. Bali, which incidentally is my hero of my next, the last book, Vanara. Columnist came later, after writing stories. But before that I used to be cartoonist. I had published cartoons. So storytelling was more important. Writing came later. Then I started writing in Malayalam first, but it was not taking me anywhere in the sense, some people were reading. I wanted to dream big. As I said, my philosophy in life is that dream as big as possible. So I shifted to English.
So in mythology, if we really look at all the characters in Mahabharata, every character is essentially a great story in itself, and we have so much to learn from each character. And I think what you're doing good is that you're bringing these characters out as well. I want to really ask, who is your favorite character in mythology?
Ravana.
And what are the learnings from Ravana that you imbibe personally?
See, we have a, in the last 2 centuries, the British sold these ideas to us that Indian civilization is essentially spiritual. Indian civilization is spiritual, no doubt, but India might be the most materialistic country in the world too. Britishers wanted to rule us. Britishers wanted the Indian intellectual class not to think about politics, not to think about any other things, leave the business to them, leave other things to them. So they tried to propagate this idea that India is a spiritual civilization. So India always, Indians also wanted something to feel proud of, because that was the phase where Indians were facing slavery and defeat after defeat for last 700, 800 years. So this is something which they could claim, that India is India, even though we are not good at materialistic, even though we are not good at science, we are good in spirituality, and this became a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Sure.
But when we look back, we find that this is the culture which produced Kama Sutra. This is the culture which wrote about Arthashastra. This is the culture which talked about the science of aesthetics. It talked about drama, poetry, music. It is highly materialistic. Why I wanted to bring Ravan into the forefront, or Bali or Duryodhana to the forefront, is because these are the characters which represent the materialistic achievements of Indians. So we want both. Why
Sure.
these characters are there in mythology? These characters are there in mythology to show that this also is required. Even if you go by your philosophy, dharma is required, artha is required, kama is required.
There has to be a
Initially,
balance.
only these three were told. Later, moksha also was added. So we started calling ourselves spiritual and not interested in materialism only when we were defeated. A complete civilization needs all. It needs spirituality. It needs materialism. And you can, like Vivekananda told, you cannot sell, you cannot talk philosophy, talk about Brahman, talk about all these things to people who are starving. In an empty mouth, this cannot be talked. So we need material progress first. So I am, in fact, my next book which is coming is on that,
Yes.
called Asura Marga. It is talking about, I'm not talking about Vanara, I'm talking about my sixth book which may
Right.
come out soon. After this, perhaps after my Bahubali second book, after Rajasa Shivgami second book, the next to next book may be Asura Marga. I have already written it. It talks about why jealousy is a good factor, why we should have ambition, why you should have, why should you cultivate anger.
What's the one job you wish you had?
I want to be a singer,
Yes.
but not even my Jackie, my pet, thinks that I am a singer. He howls with me. Film director?
Yeah, that's what you want to venture out
Venture
next?
out, yes.
Great. What's the one thing you'd like to change about yourself?
I'm lazy.
Okay. Are artists lazy? I mean,
Laziness is required for artists.
it is?
Yes.
How so?
Then only will think. I want the devil, lazy mind is the devil's workshop. I want the
Sure.
devil to do his workshop in my mind.
Right.
Then only I can write more about demons and devils.
If you could change places with one person, who would that person be?
Narendra Modi?
Are you inspired by him? Do you like?
No, I am inspired by the Prime Minister's post.
That was very honest. Thank you. What's your motto in life?
Be happy, which I am.
You
My
were
name
always
itself
happy.
is happy.
Yes. Anand means Anand, happiness, joy. 3 things you have on your bedside table.
Book, definitely a book, my Kindle and phone,
Wonderful. How many times do you charge your phone?
twice,
Okay. You're
at
fairly
least,
busy.
sometimes 3.
Yeah. Okay. You have to make a choice, tea or coffee?
Coffee,
Okay. Ram or Arjun?
Arjun,
Okay. Krishna or Hanuman?
Krishna,
Sure. And you did say that you like Ravan, so I won't ask you Ravan or Duryodhan. If you were marooned on an island and you could pick any one mythological character who could come and save you, who would that be?
Duryodhan.
Okay. Why? So you think he's very
He is
mighty?
the most loyal to his friends.
Okay.
So I want him as a friend.
You want him as a friend. And what mythological character would you want to be?
Bali.
Bali. Great. So you were always drawn to mythology, that if I write also I'll write mythology. So what drew you to mythology?
No, I started with humorous stories, political satire and all.
Yes.
But then later I found that I am not writing what I want. When I started writing, mythology was not big. Like Asura, I conceived 10, 12 years back. At that time, nobody was writing in mythology, at least in Indian English. And people were telling, who will read this?
Right.
Who will read about Ravan? But I wanted to write what I love, what I had loved from my childhood, and I wanted to write it in the way I want.
Sure.
So that is why I started doing mythology itself. I could have gone to any other genre, but I felt this is what I have some base and some interest where I can read further and write it.
How was the process of imagining this other perspective? Because it's a very unique perspective.
See, it is not that deliberately I want to write about. Of course, I am fascinated because they are very colorful characters. They are in shades of grey, which makes them more human. They have their flaws like most of us. They have their virtues. They respond to circumstances. Whereas you take Lord Ram or Lord Krishna, they are idealistic. Lord Ram is idealistic. Lord Krishna, yes, is a very fascinating character, of course. So these characters, you go to their mind. Once you start thinking like, say, Bali, then immediately the entire perspective of the story changes. It is only how you think, how you. So when I write, I try to become that character, at least when I am writing it. So I am inside the mind of Bali. But in the next chapter, perhaps if I am writing the perspective of Hanuman, which is there in the book, then I'll be thinking like Hanuman at that time. So at that time, the Bali becomes an adharmic person, the Bali becomes an unrighteous person who had taken away the wife of Sugriva. But again, you come back to Bali in the chapter after that, then what you get is Bali has all justification for why he has done. So every man thinks, in life also, all of us, every man, every woman thinks they are the hero of their life.
Yes.
So I follow that principle when I write.
That's nice. Do you believe mythology, in a sense, reinvents itself?
First of all, we cannot call this mythology.
Okay.
Mythology is a very Western term, if you ask me. For us, it is Puragathas, Puranas. These are the old fables, old tales. This is how we recorded history. Of course, a lot of exaggerations would have come, a lot of fantasies would have come, a lot of agendas might have got into that. Because it is like a Chinese whisper of 5,000 years. So many things would have changed.
Yes.
Even now, whatever is happening now, you watch 10 TV channels, you get 10 perspective depending on their political agendas.
Right.
But I believe there is some historical truth to this. Maybe saying that Mahabharata war is a nuclear war and all may be ridiculous. But there has been some war happening like that. It is a clash of civilizations. Like Ramayana or Vanara. These are all clash of civilization. I take it like that. So I try to explore it from various angles. So it has to reinvent. No? If you say take Ramayana, it has been written. Mahabharata has almost 1,200 versions. The South Indian versions of Mahabharata has about 27,000 slokas more than all other North Indian versions. That is more than Ramayana. The number of slokas different in Mahabharata between South Indian versions and North Indian version is more than the total size of Ramayana itself. So that's a kind of reimagination, reinvention, rewriting, reinterpretation that has happened in this country.
And the youth per se, always questions the authenticity of mythology. They'd be like, historical fact or not, is it really true? They'll keep asking, and yet they're very drawn to mythological fiction. So what are your thoughts about that?
A good story is more powerful than any history, any science.
Right.
Story drives the world. That's what I believe. So if it's a good story in mythology, what does a story deal about? The story deals about human nature. So whether the story is set in Ramayana period, whether the story is set in 100 years hence from today, if it has enough emotions, if it has enough learnings, and if it is written well, definitely the youth of whichever era will be drawn to that.
Yes.
So we are just trying to do the same thing.
Going to your writing process, if we talk about your latest book, Vanar, what was it like? What was your daily routine of writing? Was there a daily routine?
I have a daily routine. Mostly I write in the morning. Sometimes I get lazy in between the books, so I don't wake up. Otherwise, if there is a deadline, I wake up by around 4 o'clock. And that is the time when the world sleeps. My wife sleeps, my kids sleep. Only me and my dog will be awake. So that is the time when the world is silent. So that is the time I get inspired to write more.
Nice.
Night also I can write, but I have found that I cannot sleep after writing.
Okay. And do you deal with deadlines, the pressure of deadline very well?
I live on deadlines, especially since I am writing TV.
Yes.
It is on deadline. Like the last book, Bahubali, I had to write in 100 days. It's a 500-page book, Rise of Shogun, which is becoming a Netflix series. This Vanara, Penguin's Millie Aishwarya was, I hope she is hearing this. I'll never forgive her, I have told her. She was after my life, I had written in lesser time. Vanara.
She really
But
pushed
actually,
you.
once you tell somebody is there at the back of you, then only you can write. Otherwise, as I said, like most writers, I am also a lazy guy.
So you like the motivation, you like the push.
I like the push. One part she pushes, other part Aparna pushes, my wife pushes. She doesn't allow me to
Your
rest,
better
take
half
rest.
pushes you. That's nice. So I'm sure she really likes reading your books.
She is my first reader.
Okay,
Wife,
she's your first
Aparna is my first reader.
And then she'll give you a critique of it.
She gives, whatever she is giving vocally is one thing. What I observe on her, that is more important for me.
Okay.
I give the draft to her, I see where she stops and goes to do the household work or to attend the kids or to do her own work, or she manages a resort and also she goes there. Where she stops, I find that is a place where the writing has slackened. I rewrite that portion. And I narrate the story to her, how she reacts, whether she has some emotion on her face. Then
You figure out.
I figure out that
this
this is where I have to deepen. This is where I have to. So she's my.
Wonderful. And does your personal life, your personal relationship with your wife, that love also sort of influence the characters or some kind of
See, every
twists?
writer puts his personal life in his book. You cannot hide that.
Yes.
In every book I write, I am there. In every character I write, I am there.
Sure.
So Tara is influenced, it is not that there is a love triangle or anything, but Tara is influenced by my wife. I observe her. How will I write a woman's perspective? I will observe the women who are close to me. It could be my sister, it could be my mother. Mother is no more now, but when she was there, it could be my wife, my daughter. That is the only way I can write like a thing, go into the mind of a woman.
Sure.
So many scenes which I have written in Vanara about Tara is about my wife. You should
Yes.
never watch a writer writing. It's such a miserable job when you are
Really?
writing. Yeah, it's full of pain. So always that
Dealing
writer
with so many emotions and
it is so many emotions, and writers deal with so many insecurities. You don't know whether it is good or what. So you will go and narrate it to that. If they say yes, then also you will be doubting whether they just to avoid me they are telling yes. That insecurity is always there.
Yes.
If they say no, you feel angry. That is because you don't understand what I have written. Here I write, I have to wait for an year.
anticipation.
Anticipation and year whether people will accept it and people will criticize it. I think social pressure makes you to say, even if somebody criticizes, to say that thank you for your feedback, but inside you'll be seething because which writer wants to be criticized?
That is true. What was your route to being published? What was the first time you got published? What was that path like?
First I wrote, this book is going to be a blockbuster. This book is going to sell 1 million copies. At that time the books, 20,000 copies is a big deal.
Absolutely.
So, and for one line I not written. I don't know what to write. From there, it took 6 years to write, writing and rewriting my Asura. And there was around 18 rejection. Then one company called Lead Start, they accepted it. 500 copies were printed. So after 18 rejection, every rejection I rewrote the book. Even then, Asura is not a very as polished book as Vanara, because I have been gaining skills. That's what I feel, because the book is also becoming smaller. Asura was originally 800 pages, which got cut down to 500 pages, whereas this is a 300-page book.
And
And
now
I
you're
told
evolving.
more riveting story in Vanara.
Right.
So it is about, that is like any other art, no? You get precision on writing.
Sure.
Every rejection I had rewritten it. But once it is published, I never go back to the book because I feel like rewriting it again. So I never go back to a book which has already been published. I forget about it.
Your series of books that are coming for Bahubali, the adaptations of Bahubali and the prequel that you're writing for Bahubali. How was it describing in a book those characters that were already visualized?
See, why the Bahubali team chose to write it as a book and asked me to write is because books can explore their mind. Books has a distinct advantage over visual medium. Since I write for visual medium also like TV and films.
Right.
Books you can dwell into their mind. The character depth is more. The plot is more complicated because films you have 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It is about spectacle and intense emotion for some moments. Book you can build this up. So you will get to know more about Kattappa, what made Kattappa the Kattappa you see in the film, that you get to know in the book. Same with Shivagami. And the entire world is opened up of Mahishmati, the entire world is opened up. I have added almost 40 characters in the first book, which who are not there in the film.
Okay.
So it expands, it deepens. That is what a book does for a film.
Definitely. I want to now ask you for a message for aspiring novelists. One, they must learn from you that rejection is okay. What are the other tips that you'd like to give them?
Self-belief. You have to, when you are sitting there, you have to believe that you are the next big thing after Shakespeare. It is up to the world to say you are not.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. That belief has to be there that you write great.
So Bahubali is already becoming a television series.
Netflix series actually.
Yes. What about Vanara? Will Vanara become a movie?
I want it to become, I think it is India's answer to Planet of Apes. I want it to be taken in that scale.
Nice.
Some serious talks are going on, but as the moment, since I cannot reveal what it is, but serious talks are going on.
But according to you, who should play, let's say, Sugriv, Bali?
I
or even
think
Tara?
I think the readers should, once they read the book, no, they will get a character who should play on. Or they can imagine. I don't want it to tell and color the reader's mind. They want to imagine their hero as Bali and their hero as Sugriv and their heroine as Tara. Then only the reading experience will be better.
Who should be playing Bali? Who should be playing Sugriv? And who should play Tara? Tell us about it and tag your favorite actors. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It
It was a
was
pleasure.
wonderful having you on Bookish. And
you.
as you saw, it was not so serious as you anticipated. Thank you very much.
Thank
once
you.
again.
Thank you.